Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at a review of the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe Mark IV. The Mark IV is a great version of this amplifier. It's around the mid-range in terms of price, but one of the really great advantages of the Hot Rod Deluxe series is that there are millions of them made, which is great for the secondhand market. Loads of people have them. And one of the big draw cards of them is that there's heaps in the secondhand market and they can go for really good prices. So I picked mine up secondhand as well, just because the price is new. It's quite expensive, whereas the secondhand price, because there's so many online, it's much cheaper. I picked this up for about 900 Australian dollars, which is pretty affordable for a mid-range amp. Definitely punches above its weight. There's a few really key big changes in this Mark IV series from the previous incarnations. The biggest change has been a much better speaker. So the improved speaker is this Celestion A-Type, which is the British brand's version of, I guess, a more Fender American sounding speaker. They've done a great job here because it pairs really nicely with the Mark IV amp. One thing I want to clarify is that the Hot Rod series is the same I guess design as the Fender Blues Junior Mark IV and the Fender Hot Rod DeVille as well. And also it's in the same series as the Pro Junior 4 as well. Some of those come in tweed coverings, which got different speakers. It's got the Jensen speaker, but I'm more speaking about the stock Mark IV models, which all come with the A-Type, Celestion A-Type. I'm not sure about the Pro Junior, but definitely the Blues Junior, the Hot Rod Deluxe, and the DeVille. The main difference being the size of the cabinet, extra channel, and the speaker configuration. So in the Fender Blues Junior, you're going to get a 12-inch speaker like the Deluxe as well. It's a larger cabinet on the Deluxe. It's also got an extra drive channel, which is great. They have improved that as well on the Mark IV, but I'll go into more detail. One reason why I made this review is that when I was shopping around for one of these, there were a few okay reviews online, but not really a great detailed review with really nice recordings. So today I'll show you a shot, but essentially I've got it mic'd up here with a condenser microphone just hanging over the front of the cone there, about midway down, straight into my ADAT interface into an Apollo Twin. And yeah, it sounds pretty good, captures a good feeling in the room, what the amp actually sounds like. And I'll do some demos shortly. First off, I want to talk about the features of the Mark IV version. Definitely a big improvement on the previous versions. If you've played those or read about them online, people are pretty critical, but I think that a lot of those criticisms have been improved on by Fender in this version. And the first one being that it's very heavy, the previous versions, and I think that they listened to this and made the new cabinet out of pine, which was a great option. Essentially, it's a lot lighter, easier to move around. And they also improved the speaker. They've switched it out for a Celestion A-Type, as I was saying before. It's an American voice speaker. It has those classic Fender tones, but it's a little bit darker, which is great because another criticism was that this amp's very bright and almost ice picky. And this is a perfect combination because it reduces a lot of that shrillness in the sound by being a slightly darker voice speaker. So it ends up being quite well-rounded in terms of the tone options. In terms of this series, the Blues Junior, the Hot Rod Deluxe, the DeVille, they are not classic Fender amplifiers. They cover that already in their catalog with the Princeton and the Fender Deluxe Reverb. They've got more mid-scooped kind of sounds. Definitely the black face, it's got that mid-scoop, silver face, less so. And then the Bassman Tweed style amps, they've got their own voicing and characteristic. It's actually more of a modern voiced amplifier. The goal here is to make an amp that was for modern players. It's still got that really nice Fender clean sound, although it's a bit more mid-forward. In saying that, compared to a lot of other amplifiers, especially Voxes, Marshalls, it's definitely not that heavy in the mids. It's still got that Fender clean sound, but it's just not that really scooped blackface sound. One thing I'll mention here is that I did make some tweaks to the amplifier, which I think make a huge improvement to the sound. I'll link the video below where there's a video from that pedal show where they go through and try and improve the amplifier with some little tweaks and things like that. I took some of those on board and I switched out some of the tubes, a couple of different Things you can do with this one. So the first tube, V1, I switched that out for, it has a 12AX7 in there, which has a lot of gain. And so the volume knob gets really loud very quickly, which is makes it difficult to use if you want to play at quieter volumes. So if you switch that out for a 12AY7 tube, it's a lot lower gain factor. So it means you can use that volume knob much more effectively. Another thing is that will essentially stay clean all the way through the dial. It'll start to break up towards the top of the range, which is, I think, a bit more easier to use. You can kind of sweep the dial for the volume control on that first channel a lot easier. And then I also switched the phase inverter to a 12AU7, which is the same phase inverter that they use in the Fender Deluxe Reverb. Essentially what that does is it sort of retains that clean character a bit more further up the dial as well. So it's pretty much clean all the way through to 12 on the dial. And then if I hit it with a clean boost or a clon or something like that, or any overdrive, it'll just push it over the edge into a really nice breakup on the clean channel. And then another thing that this tube configuration changes around a little bit is it impacts the drive channel. So it smooths that out, makes it a lot more usable. The original, we've got 12AX7 tubes in there, gets distorted very quickly, too much gain too quickly there. And the more gain setting on the amp as well, it just becomes unruly and doesn't really sound that great. So the best thing I think is you switch those tubes out, you'll get a lot more control over the drive channel. It sounds a lot sweeter now. It's a little bit less gain, so it's a little bit more controlled and a bit more natural sounding as well. And I think it's a huge tonal improvement for very little cost. I think those tubes cost me like $20 Australian each. Very easy to switch out and definitely recommend for this series. So another feature that's really good on this amp is the spring reverb. They've revoiced it, so it's a little bit darker and there's less high frequencies in there, so you can get a bit more use out of the range now. So early on, it sounds really nice. It's very light effect, and you can sort of hear the spring. It's a tiny bit of drip as you get to maybe halfway up the dial, and it gets really dense towards the end, but nothing like the previous series that were really unusable past about 3 or 4. The other thing they've improved, small tweaks, are the input jacks slightly better as well. And one thing they didn't improve, which was a big disappointment, is that the resistors, there's some really large resistors that sit on the PCB board. They sit very close to the board. They get very hot, and when the amp's really hot, it can sometimes, because they're so close, burn the PCB board, but that is a very rare occurrence. I've known people to play these amps for a very long time. They're often used as backline as well, and they are actually pretty durable. It's still something that they could have fixed very cheaply, which is a bit disappointing for Fender to not have addressed that. But apart from that, everything else they've done is a really great tweak. Definitely made a big improvement to the amp. All right, so we're going to listen to some tones from the amp now. I'll play on the clean channel first, and then I'll switch to the drive channel, try a few settings. I'll also take a shot of the panel there so you can see my settings. Then we'll run some pedals through there. I've got a compressor, Mua yellow comp. I've got a clean boost, the Boss booster. I've got some distortion options, the Steel Singer. I've got a clone here as well. That's got a lot of boost on it, so you can really push it into overdrive. Got a Boss chorus here. Got another chorus, Dimension C, and then we've got this Boss RV6 reverb. I'll also engage the spring reverb on the amp as well and play with a few of those settings, and I'll show you in those audio demos.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, thank you. Please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel if you do. And also please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Cheers.